Now this is looking a little bit more like the Petco Park we're used to. Some rain showers earlier today, and around 3 o'clock, something only shy of a windstorm here in San Diego as the Mariners open up this brief 2-game interleague series against the San Diego Padres. The Padres right now 4th place in the West, trailing the Dodgers by 6 games. And Mike, how about a look at tonight's Mariners starting lineup?
And the starting lineup brought to you by Chevron. Leading off, it will be Logan Morrison. Morrison with a couple of home runs against Kennedy. Cano moves up to the number 2 spot. Then it's Seager, Cruz, and Smith in the middle of the lineup. Austin Jackson will hit 6. Then it's Miller. Mike Zunino this season against the Padres, 4 for 8 with 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. So hopefully his hot hitting against the Padres will continue. Mike Morgan, the pitcher. Mike Montgomery, the pitcher, will round out the 9 for the Mariners tonight. And for Kennedy on the year, 4-6 record, ERA over 5, a little bit misleading. He's been much better than that as of late. 69 innings. He has 65 strikeouts, 22 walks. He has given up 15 home runs this year. It's been a problem. Opponent's hitting .271 against Kennedy. And look at the American Family Insurance defensive setup. Justin Upton in left field. Melvin Upton out in center. Matt Kemp, the right fielder. Solarte getting the start at third base. Barmas and Jerko playing up the middle. Alonso, the first baseman, and the former A, Derek Norris, will do the catching.
So Kennedy getting set for start number 2 against the Mariners this season. Facing off against Logan Morrison. And the right-hander's first pitch of the ball game, a little bit low for ball 1. There's a number of hitters in the Mariners lineup today with some good numbers against Kennedy. Lomo 4 for 11, a couple of home runs. Mariners had yesterday off here in San Diego after dropping 2 of 3 in Anaheim. And tonight it starts game 1 of the final 13 before the All-Star break. So the final off day for the guys before the Midsummer Classic. Getting some time away. High pop up to shallow center. Here comes Melvin Upton for round number 1.
For Kennedy, an average fastball. He'll be 90, 91 miles an hour. Again, he's going to try to work down in the zone. That last fastball elevated a little bit. Logan Morrison just missing. It also mix in a changeup. Go along with a curveball. Throw both those pitches about 15% of the time and mix in an occasional slider. You take a look at his numbers against the Giants.
Yeah, odd line, 5 unearned runs. The Padres have struggled this year in the first half defensively. But only 1 earned run allowed for Kennedy each of his last 3 starts.
It's unusual when you look at the Padres. They are 6th in the National League in runs scored, but 11th in ERA. And typically, over the past few years, it's been their pitching that has been the strength. They haven't been able to score.
And wouldn't you know it, a new general manager, A.J. Preller, bringing in all kinds of offense as a new manager. Earlier this month as well, Pat Murphy coming up from their AAA affiliate in El Paso. Dave Roberts, the man to our left, was the interim skipper for a game before Murphy was able to pack up and come to town. As Cano hacking away at some high heat down on 3 pitches, 2 outs. But it's kind of the way it goes, isn't it, Mike? You go out, you make trades, you invest in a lot of offense, and the strength, or what you perceive to be the strength in recent years, the pitching, well, as you said, just not there. It's kind of strange how it's worked out.
It is, and again, you maybe take it for granted at times. Kennedy, we talked about it, off to just a terrible start this year, but has been much better lately, and I think they're hoping the rest of the pitching will follow suit because they have scored some runs. Padres will put the shift on with Kyle hitting.
We mentioned the solid pitching from Kennedy lately. He's been fantastic this month. He's making his 5th start of June. And his hot streak on the heels of a 4-game stretch to end the month of May where he allowed 20 earned runs over 19 innings. He was getting shelled. That hasn't been the case lately, though. Former first-round draft pick by the Yankees. The opposite way for Seager, but right in Upton's tracks, and Kennedy spins a quick 1-2-3 top of the 1st. We go to the home half. Padres coming up along with Mike Montgomery. It's on to the bottom of the first. A beautiful night for Petco Park. Mike Montgomery getting set to make his 6th start in the big leagues, his first in a National League ballpark, coming on the heels of a phenomenal complete game shutout at home against the Kansas City Royals. And Mike, how about a look at Pat Murphy's starting lineup for the Padres tonight?
The Padres this year 8th in the National League in home runs, and it starts with Matt Kemp at the top of the lineup. Then it'll be Norris, Alonso, Justin Upton, the cleanup hitter. Solarte Jerko in the lineup, recalled from AAA El Paso today, and in the lineup hitting 6th. Melvin Upton 7th, Barmas and Kennedy rounding out the 9 for the Padres. And for Mike Montgomery on the air, he has really been good. See what he's done this season. 2-2 record, but a 2.04 ERA in his 5 starts. In his last outing, 9 innings, 5 hits. No earned runs, didn't walk away, 10 strikeouts. He threw 105 pitches in that outing against the Royals.
And he pours in strike one to Matt Kemp, who has suddenly been the leadoff hitter for the Padres lately, trying to get his bat going. Kemp was born again last year with the Dodgers and coming over to the Padres this season. Dodgers still paying a lot of his contract. Really the key move for A.J. Preller this winter.
And we showed the line for Montgomery in his last outing against Kansas City, and one of the key notes in there was he didn't walk anybody, no walks, and you want to stay that way with the Padres. They are 4th in the National League in stolen bases, so they will be aggressive when they get on.
Up the middle to Cano. Routine toss for round number 1.
So routine play for Cano. Take a look at the rest of the defensive setup, brought to you by American Family Insurance. Seth Smith getting a start in left field. Jackson in center. Nelson Cruz. No DH, so Nelson Cruz getting a start in right field. Seager at third base. Miller and Cano playing up the middle. Logan Morrison at first, and Mike Zunino doing the catching tonight.
The use of his changeup in that start against Kansas City was so impressive, especially throwing it to right-handed hitters, to left-handed hitters as well, and a lot of righties in the lineup tonight for the Padres.
Well, I thought the great thing about it was the way that he and Mike Zunino worked together, and Mike Montgomery's comments after the game was just that. Early on, he could tell that he had a good changeup. They didn't use it a lot the first time through the lineup, but then to get through the lineup the second and third time, and his numbers are so impressive. They just get better as he works his way through the lineup a number of times. They started to use the changeup more, and it was an effective pitch for him.
It's easy to forget because we now know the end result of that start, but the first inning against the Royals started off with a single, and then a hit batter on the first pitch, and all of a sudden he's in some serious hot water with nobody out, but a strikeout to Hosmer, a ground ball double play, and that was about as much of a threat as the Royals had all night.
But you know what, Aaron, that's what we've seen from him. There's a lot of things to be impressed with Mike, but I think the one thing that I've noticed, and it really goes all the way back to even his first start, is when he gets into trouble, he doesn't try to overthrow. In fact, he'll probably try to take a little bit more off, and he's been able to work out of a lot of jams. And that's a rare thing for a young pitcher, have the ability to do that. More times not, especially when you have a good arm like Mike does. The tendency is to want to throw harder. Very mature about the way he goes about his business, especially when he's in trouble.
And a 1-out walk to Norris. Padres first base runner.
For Mike, a good fastball. He'll be in the low 90s. Really good separation with his changeup. We've talked a lot about it. It is 10 miles an hour off of his fastball, so good separation there. He'll also mix in a curveball and a slider. He'll cut his fastball in on the righties from time to time.
Now facing Yonder Alonso. Alonso having a nice season, leading the Padres in on-base percentage over 400. Right to Lomo, steps on the bag, down to second. Miller is there, and Norris is out. So for the second straight start, a double play, turn behind Mike Montgomery, and that ends the first inning. And we've seen a lot of double play balls turned behind Mariners pitchers, and a nice start tonight.
Well, we have. In fact, the Mariners are third in the American League in inducing the double play. They had 75 coming into the game today, one behind the Twins and only two behind the Chicago White Sox, who lead the American League. So Mariners pitching taking advantage of some good defense.
So quick inning for Mike Montgomery, both starters. A 1-2-3 first. It's Nelson Cruz to begin things in the Mariners' second. We're finding out today that Nelson will not be taking part of the home run derby during the All-Star break in Cincinnati. And we know that Nelson has had the pelvis issue not long ago, had some back spasms in the middle of an at-bat in Cleveland. And of course, with the derby already losing Giancarlo Stanton, if he would have accepted, losing some more star power in Nelson Cruz. But Nelson saying he wanted to put the team first, in a wise move, it seems like.
Well, I think that it is. And again, Lloyd having to manage him. And obviously, in the American League, you have the DH, so he can use him in that role quite a bit to take some of the pressure off of him. Here in the National League ballpark, he'll have to play right field, and that's what he's doing tonight.
Melvin Upton coming in and snares it for the catch. Now some good news as Nelson Cruz has taken over the lead. Take a look at the American League All-Star balloting released yesterday, the latest numbers. Surpassing Kendrys Morales. And one by one, Mike, the Royals are getting knocked down at least a little bit as we see Josh Donaldson now at third base for Moustakas. Of course, it was a while ago that Cabrera took over at first for Eric Hosmer. So remember, vote Cruz, Mariners.com. One out for Seth Smith.
I'm surprised as I look at that. And Omar Infante is a good veteran second baseman for the Royals, but with the way that Altuve has played and the way that the city of Houston is behind that young man, I'm surprised that he hasn't been able to get out in front of him.
Well, you look at the second base position in the first half this year in the American League. Kipnis having a fantastic year. Brian Dozier might be the best second baseman that nobody talks about in the American League. And you're right, Altuve, although he's been a little dinged up this year with that hamstring injury, and numbers took a dip for a little bit of a while, he's one of the best at his position. Smith facing his former team behind 0-2. Watch out. Smith coming over from San Diego. Brandon Maurer, the 1-for-1 swap. Good to see Brandon at the ballpark today. One thing that will be interesting to see today for left fielders as we take a look at Seth Smith. The wall in left field today, or this season rather, is only 5 feet high in the corner, and for any left fielder, there's a chance to spill over, as it's Justin Upton in left field for the Padres, and of course Smith in left field for the Mariners.
I wonder how Upton feels about that, because you're right, he's a really good athlete, and if he has to jump high for a ball in that area, he is going to go over the top of that wall. The rest of the wall is 6 feet out there.
Lifted to left. Upton towards the warning track. Has it. Now Smith gives it a ride, but not deep enough. 2 outs.
Well, a good sign for the Mariners is they've been able to hit the ball in the air. We talked about Kennedy. He's given up 15 home runs this year, and we'll take a look at the swing by Seth Smith. Good fastball out over the plate, 93 miles an hour. And he was able to take Upton right up against the fence, and as long as you're hitting the ball in the air off of Kennedy, you have a chance to do some damage.
Two outs for Austin Jackson. Now Kennedy could not escape the fifth the last time that he saw the Mariners. That was in mid-May at Safeco Field. Home runs to Seager and to Logan Morrison. Was tagged for 5 runs in that start. Now Kennedy throwing a lot of strikes.
And it's been a really good month of June for Austin Jackson. For the month, hitting .295. 10 extra base hit, 8 RBIs, walked 6 times. scored 10 runs.
Really, you can almost draw a line in the sand for Austin since coming off the disabled list with that ankle injury.
He has been much better. And the hope is that it continues for him. We've seen him lead off, hit second tonight, hitting 6th in the lineup. You're right about Kennedy throwing a lot of strikes. 20 pitches, 16 strikes for him.
Jerko ranging, throwing across the body, and it's there in time to get Austin Jackson. 6 up, 6 down for Ian Kennedy. We go to the bottom of the second. Up. That's always the case. Quick 2 games. Day game tomorrow. And speaking of that, we'll take a look at the Mariners calendar brought to you by Sleep Country USA. So an early start time tomorrow, 12:40 for Taijuan Walker up on the mound. Then it's off to the Bay Area. The Mariners will celebrate Independence Day from Odaco Coliseum against the Oakland A's. Mike Montgomery starts off Justin Upton with ball 1. What a first half of the season it has been for Upton, leading the Padres in hits and homers and RBIs and slugging and walks as well. But he pops this one up. Cano waits a while and he makes the catch.
I'll tell you the other number for Upton that surprising that he leads his club in is stolen bases. 15 steals and he has not been caught.
He's about
so the big man can move.
He's double the amount of steals that he had last year. It's been a huge change for Upton. And you brought up the stolen base numbers earlier this broadcast for the Padres, and they're hardly caught at all this year. 51 steals. They've been caught a dozen times. Here is Solarte, third baseman. Oh, Will Middlebrooks not in the lineup today, as he's a little banged up. Middlebrooks, we're used to seeing him at third base, one of the many offseason acquisitions for A.J. Preller, but Middlebrooks was tracking a foul ball and tripped on a bat and injured his leg. He is available to pinch hit, we were told. Seager with the backhand, round number 2.
And we'll take a look at last year's Gold Glove winner, Kyle, giving a little bit of a ground on the backhand. Plenty of time, accurate throw.
Two up, 2 down. It brings in Jed Jerko, just recalled today from AAA El Paso. Jerko's whose rookie year back in 2013 got off to such a fantastic start. He was even given an extension, and then things have really gone downhill, whether it be performance or injuries for Jerko. His option down to AAA. Spent about 2 weeks down there with the Chihuahuas before being called up today. How do you like that, Mike?
I like the Chihuahuas.
Was managed there by Pat Murphy, who got the call up himself this year. Murphy had a chance to see Montgomery a little bit in the PCL. Montgomery managed El Paso last year as well. What a nice pitch there by Mike Montgomery. The changeup to get Jerko. And it's 3 up, 3 down as Montgomery has faced the minimum over the first 2 innings. We're scoreless. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by BNSF Railway, sponsor of the BNSF Blast. By Rockwood Fired Kitchen, Pizza, Burgers, and Spirits. And by Silver Reef Hotel Casino Spa, I-5, exit 260, Ferndale, Washington. Well, as expected, a gorgeous night here in San Diego. Ian Kennedy, his 11th straight strike thrown, and it's 0-1 to Brad Miller.
And so far, one of the few off-speed pitches that he has thrown. Been able to work through the first 6 batters primarily with just a fastball.
And Upton's range calls off his brother for round number 1. A lot of outs through the air. Morrison, Seager, Cruz, Smith, and now Miller, all fly ball outs. All either to left or to center field early on. Brings in Zunino. Well, that snaps a streak of 13 straight strikes by Kennedy. And Mike for Zunino, a couple of strikeouts in the finale in Anaheim, but we've seen some steps forward the last few games for Mike, haven't we?
No, I think we've seen some improvement from him. And it's going to get enough of it.
Oh, this is hammered enough and gone. Pelted off the railing, and Mike Zunino slams number 9 of the season. And he homers yet again off of Ian Kennedy, and the Mariners have taken an early 1-0 lead.
And yes, Aaron, he has improved. He's been much better lately, and that's a good sign.
As you were saying.
I think, again, a lot of the work that he and Edgar have put in is paying off, but he gets a fastball, that one right down the middle, and he doesn't miss it. Kennedy knew it right away. Puts the facade of the second deck.
That's a tough act for Mike Montgomery to follow in his first big league at bat. 0-1 to the Mariners pitcher. The opposite way. Another fly ball that finds Justin Upton. 2 outs.
Again, all these fly ball outs. That's a good sign for the Mariners. Kennedy now has given up 16 home runs on the year, and Mike says, thank you very much. Take a look at our Alaska Supermo and the location of this fastball. It is middle. And that did it got in on him just a little bit to give you an idea how strong Mike is. I didn't think it sounded quite right when he hit it, but still able to hit it almost into the second deck.
2 outs for Lomo. And we've mentioned this before, especially about Zunino, but it's nice when something like that can happen in your first at-bat as opposed to your last at-bat of the game.
Yeah, the game is about confidence, and Mike has gone through a rough time here the first 3 months of the season. We've talked about it. Over his last 4 or 5 games, he's been better. But when you can check in that first at-bat, even if it's just a base hit, it just seems to take a lot of pressure off you, because every day you come to the ballpark, you're feeling the weight of that batting average on you. And when you get a base hit, it gives you a chance to build on it. We saw that at home. He was able to get a base hit his first time up, added a base hit in his last at bat, so you're making progress in that regard. But I just think it's a big lift off of you.
Hard hit but fouled off Lomo's bat. 1-2.
And it is amazing, Aaron. And you talk to players and just all the different mental games that they play depending on how they're going. When you're going well, you don't think about a whole lot of anything. And when you're struggling, you're trying to find these different things to get moving in the right direction and try to find some positive in something. And sometimes it can be difficult, but Mike moving in the right direction with his 9th home run.
Well, speaking of struggling, it's easy to forget now with the way that Logan Morrison has been swinging the bat for the last month and a half, but Lomo hit beneath 200 in April. He hit $197 and has been able to turn things around. At nearly 275 the next month. Over 250 for the month of June.
And you look at that after getting off to a slow start with Logan and kind of a little bit under the radar. But if you were to start the season, if you take a look at Edgar Martinez, if you were to start the season and you said that Logan was going to be in that 20 to 25 home run range, would you take it? You would. Well, we're in game number 77, so we're not quite to the halfway mark. He hits another home run, he'll be at 10 at the midway point. So he'll be well on his way even after struggling that first month.
A good pace. Looking at Edgar Martinez earlier today, walking back through the Mariners clubhouse. To get to the clubhouse here, if you're on the field, you have to walk by the cages, and just walking through the doorway and seeing Edgar Martinez there, and just kind of the once again realization, oh my gosh, Edgar Martinez is here and he's helping Mariners hitters every day, as hands-on as you can imagine. That's a good sight. This is dumped out to right center. Kemp has to range for a while. Kemp on his horse, can't get there. Extra bases. Logan Morrison chugging into second, makes the turn. He wants third base, and he'll get there with a slide.
Take a look at it. Breaking ball. It's curveball left again in the middle of the plate. Kemp playing shallow and right. I was surprised to see him playing as shallow as he was. Logan hoping that it gets over his head, and once he gets past him, he's thinking 3. So a good opportunity for the Mariners here with 2 outs. And Robinson Cano going to get an opportunity to drive in a run.
Some seismic readings from San Diego with Lomo digging for 3. Cano had a pretty quick at bat back of the first 3 pitches, struck out on a fastball. RBI chance here with 2 outs. We talked earlier about Kennedy throwing so many strikes. At one point 13 in a row, and the last 2 balls hit hard. Zunino the homer, Lomo the triple. We saw that curveball. catching a ton of the plate. It seemed like the strikes earlier were more on the edges.
And if you talk to the people from San Diego, they'll tell you that's the reason why he was struggling so mightily early in the season, and his ERA had really ballooned up, and the Mariners took advantage of that earlier this year at Safeco. So you're hoping to continue to see that, especially if it's elevated. Even if he's pitching on the corners a little bit more, if he's elevating his fastball at 90, 91, you're going to get a chance to get after it. And he likes to throw his fastball. You can see 63% of his pitches are going to be fastballs. Changeup and curveball about the same mix, an occasional slider. But if it's elevated, he's really helping these hitters out.
Morrison at third base as Cano calls for time. Hammered right field, but foul.
See on the EQC tracer, that was his curveball, able to get it towards the bottom of the strike zone, but I think in a 1-2 count, he probably wanted to throw it down out of the strike zone and wasn't able to get it there.
Cano down on strikes. Second straight at bat. Logan Morrison left stranded at third base. But Mike Zunino, home run at number 9. He got a lot on his fastball from Ian Kennedy, who looked like he knew it right away. And through 2.5, the Mariners have a 1-0 lead. Here in San Diego. Day game tomorrow. Taijuan Walker up on the mound. Always some nice scenery when you come to this part of the country as Mike Montgomery comes home with the first pitch strike to Melvin Upton Jr. Now, no more BJ Upton as Melvin went back to his birth name, saying it's a new season, wants to have, well, his new old name. You see players do that from time to time in various sports, change a jersey number, or in this case change a name, hoping that that might help in one way or another. Clean slate.
Well, off to a slow start. Just 156 with a home run.
Missed a lot of time with a foot injury.
He's been around for a long time. In fact, he picked up his first major league RBI against the Mariners back in 2004.
Very nicely done, Mike. Very nicely done. Impressive. Full count. You were just waiting, weren't you? Just waiting until Melvin Upton Jr. came up. had that one
I
down.
figured I had to get to it before you did, Aaron. So.
That was nowhere in the notes. Nowhere. That was all Mike Flowers. Second walk today. This one of the leadoff variety. Well, wear what the pros wear and pick up the Stars and Stripes Diamond Eric on-field cap. The Mariners will be donning this cap on the 4th of July, and you can as well when you purchase this special edition cap at any of the 5 Mariners team store locations. Mariners and the A's on July 4th. Leadoff man reaches for Clint Barnes. Been around for a while. Shortstop.
Good idea to keep an eye on Upton over at first base. He's had a hard time getting to first base. We mentioned in a 156 average. But if he gets an opportunity to run, he will do it. He's 3 for 3 in stolen bases. And again, the Padres are 4th in the National League. So they like to run.
Montgomery only 9 pitches at a 1-2-3 second, which ended on a strikeout to Jerko. The last start for Montgomery was obviously so impressive. 10 strikeouts, no walks, the complete game shutout against one of the very best hitting teams in baseball. A veteran lineup in the Kansas City Royals. Quick snap, throw down to first, and Upton's in there safely. But really, it's even more impressive for Montgomery when you put it into perspective in Mariners history. That complete game shutout for Montgomery came in his 5th career major league start. That's the fastest ever for a Mariners pitcher to spin a complete game shutout. You have to go back to Matt Young in 1983, who had the previous record throwing a complete game shutout in his 9th start. So broke that by a pretty decent margin.
Yeah, I would be curious to see how many pitches Matt threw in that outing, because in today's game with the young pitchers, you have to be so efficient. And for Montgomery, he was able to do it in just 105 pitches, which the pitch through 9 innings. That is really being efficient and getting things done. We'll take a look at Rick Waits. He has been really happy with the work of Mike. So I think that's probably one of the difference now. When Matt Young was pitching, they probably would let him go a little bit further than that. But I think Mike Montgomery was probably getting towards his limit when Lloyd wasn't going to have a choice to take him out of the game if they had a base runner or two.
Full count to Barmes. Lifted high but playable to center. And it's out number 1. Finds Austin Jackson.
And we'll take a look at the work of Mike Montgomery. His fastball percentage at 58%. His changeup has been his best off-speed pitch. No surprise to see it at 21%. Then he'll throw his curveball, an occasional slider / cutter that he will use.
One out, one on for the pitcher. Kennedy has a couple of sack bunts this year. Mike, in all seriousness, looking through that old box score from 1983, I'm not sure they kept track of pitch counts in 1983.
That would not
which
surprise me.
Kind of proves your point even more so, doesn't it?
Would not surprise me.
A strike as they appeal down to Mike Everett at first base. 0-2. One fun thing, though, about that game from Young in '83, his lone All-Star year, Rod Carew led off for the California Angels, and Reggie Jackson DH'd and hit 5th in that game. A complete game shutout. A couple of Hall of Famers. Kennedy trying to give himself up to move Upton into scoring position. Kennedy has a couple of base hits this year, 2 for 18 when he swings the bat. ball. Down on strikes. Kennedy trying to bunt with 2 strikes against him. And there is out number 2. Well, the Mariners return home Monday, July 6th to host the Detroit Tigers for a 3-game series. Wednesday, the 8th, enjoy Mariners baseball under the summer sun as they face off at a special afternoon start time at 12:40. Tickets for this midweek matinee are available right now at mariners.com. 2 outs. Upton has to stay put at first base. And it's back at the top of the order. It brings in Matt Kemp. Low sinker there to Miller. Quick spin. The short way to Cano. The Padres strand a runner, and we're through 3 innings on a gorgeous night from Petco Park. Mariners, so 1-0 lead. Earlier tonight in the 3rd inning, Mike Zunino got enough by plenty on this pitcher, me and Kennedy.
And for Mike, fastball down the middle of the plate. And he'll hit it off the facade of the second deck, his 9th home run, and he is so far the difference in this ball game. 1-0 for the Mariners.
Zunino now 9 home runs, 18 RBIs on the season. 2nd home run of the road trip. It'll be Seager, Cruz, and Smith due up. Mike Montgomery, 3 scoreless so far. His first career start in a National League ballpark.
And the Padres will have the shift on with Kyle hitting.
One ball and 1 strike to Seager. Looks like that might have been on the corner.
That's off the plate. We'll take a look at it. Our EQC tracer and the location of the changeup off the plate away.
You could tell by Seager's reaction pretty quickly. He thought that was outside. Looks like it was. Into the shift, a short hop, and it eats up Jerko. Seager is aboard.
And that is something you wouldn't expect to happen with as deep as Jerko, the second baseman, was playing. He was well out onto the outfield grass, but it looks as if he just gets flat-footed. Almost started giving up ground towards the end of that top spin line drive at him. Going to give Kyle a hit on it. He hit it hard.
Leadoff single to start the fourth. It brings in Nelson Cruz. And Mike, I suppose maybe you only know if you're the guy actually out there, but second baseman coming up today in the minor leagues and eventually finding their way to the big leagues, they're having to learn some new positioning and as a result how to play, well, a deep skipper like that we saw, a deep ground ball. A second baseman 20 years ago might not be making that play
because of all the shifts. And it brings up a good point. You would hope that in the minor leagues, even though they probably are not going to have the data that they have at this level, but to do it just for practice if nothing else, because it is different. And I think I watch them sometimes, and you have the cut of the grass and the dirt, and I'm amazed at guys that will play maybe 3 feet behind that, because if it hits that cut of the grass, that ball could jump up to a lot of funny things. So I think either you have to be even with it or play deep, as Jerko was. But then again, you know, the ball was hit right at him with some topspin, and he ended up flat-footed, and it ate him up.
Two balls and a strike to Cruz. Seager at first base. And Nelson ahead 3-1. And there's got to be a difference too. You talked about the fringe of the grass, but if you're 20 feet deep in right field, playing a ball that hops on the grass as opposed to on the dirt, it's a different surface, different hops.
And sometimes, and tonight you'll notice it too, the grass will get a little bit damp and it'll skip more off of it. So you have to be prepared for that.
First walk tonight for Kennedy. The Mariners have the first two reach, a single, now ball 4. They're bringing Seth Smith. Well, as always, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Now Mariners in business to start things in the fourth. 2 on, nobody out. Smith flew out to left field his last time up.
And you can see Seth not happy with the first call. Again, another changeup. That one down probably just off the plate. And it was. You can see again on the EQC tracer. So a couple of changeups that have not been strikes, been called strikes by Tim Wilkie, the home plate umpire.
Moves his feet, and it's a ball and a strike. Norris coming over after an all-star season last year with the Oakland A's. One of the many new faces here in San Diego. And that has really cleared a place for Stephen Vogt in Oakland, right now tied for the league lead in RBIs. All-star caliber first half for the A's, now full-time catcher. 1-2. Mariners trying to get to Kennedy with the first two base runners aboard. Seager the single. He's now at second. Cruz the walk. Smith behind the count. Kennedy in his 9th season of the big leagues. 3 years with the Yankees. 4 years with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now in his 3rd season with the Padres. A lot of time taken here. Norris wants to talk things over. We talked about the pitching at the top of the broadcast, Mike, but the rotation especially for the Padres looked incredibly fearsome entering this year. Of course, you had Kennedy, who's a very serviceable big league pitcher who kind of flies under the radar with the names of James Shields, whom we'll see tomorrow against Taijuan Walker. Tyson Ross, one of the best ground ball pitchers in the game. Cashner, if he can stay healthy, is devastating. Mariners had to face him last year. And Smith down on strikes. Third punch out for Kennedy. Well, helps send Nelson Cruz to the All-Star game. The Boomstick is in the lead in the designated hitter category as we enter the final few days of balloting. Voting ends this Thursday. Join the ballot blitz to the finish line by voting up to 35 times at Mariners.com. Let's send Nelson to the Midsummer Classic in Cincinnati. You can vote Cruz and vote often. 1 out, 2 on for Austin Jackson. Jackson, a ground ball up the middle, a base hit. Barmes couldn't get there. Seager around to score from second, and now a bobble in the outfield. Cruz into third. Doesn't make it. A run comes home. That's Seager. Meanwhile, Jackson down to second base. High fives for Seager.
Base hit back up the middle. And Nelson, a little bit of a late break at first. Decided to stay at second, and then right there, Upton decided he was going to try to barehand that. I'm not sure, but he was fortunate the ball ricocheted right to his brother, who makes a strong throw at third to get Cruz. That was closer in at third than I expected it to be.
Solarte really had to go get that. Brings in Brad Miller. Leadoff single scores for the Mariners. Two outs, 1 on. Miller tees off on this. Oh, he blisters it. He crushes it. It's gone by a ton. Brad Miller takes no mercy here in San Diego. He crushes home run number 7. It comes with 2 outs and a man on second base. It's 4-0 Mariners.
I was just starting to say that Kennedy is starting to get a really good feel for his changeup. And that's what Brad gets. Second pitch in the at-bat, it's a changeup. It'll be in the middle of the plate, right at the bottom of the strike zone. And he hammers it. That'll bring up Zunino, who homered in his first at bat.
Well, remember the last time that watch out for Felix, he'll get you. The last time that Kennedy was up on the mound against the Mariners, 6 home runs for Seattle that night. 1-1 to Zunino.
Kennedy has now given up 17 home runs on the year.
That's more than he gave up all of last year when he threw just over 200 innings. You think about that 6 home run game earlier this year against Kennedy. That was only the 4th time since 2000 the Mariners had hit 6 home runs, and it was the first time since 2004. Zunino swings through it. Off-speed pitch from Kennedy. But the Mariners have a productive 4th, 3 runs in, and 2 of them on 1. Mighty swing from Brad Miller, home run number 7. All right, sounds like a plan. That's a good idea, Jen. As we go to the bottom of the fourth, Derek Norris will lead things off for the Padres, facing Mike Montgomery. Montgomery working with now a 4-0 lead, a 3-run fourth for the Mariners. And it's 0-2. Norris historically has hit lefties very well. That was a big reason why he was brought over in the offseason. The Padres last year were the worst hitting team in baseball against left-handed pitching. In fact, last year the Padres hit .220 against southpaws. One of the lowest marks in recent seasons for any team. Norris down on strikes. A changeup is dialed in tonight for Mike Montgomery. Well, normally Dave Sims would be on the telecast tonight, but sadly, Mike, as we both know, Simsy's father-in-law Norm passed away somewhat suddenly. Norm, a very decorated Division I college basketball referee, was a standout catcher in high school and in college. Got some looks from the Brooklyn Dodgers, did Norm. So our thoughts with Simsy and his wonderful wife Abby. A sad time in the Sims household, but our thoughts with them.
Yeah, I spoke to Dave yesterday morning when he was able to get the news, and Abby was here on the trip with him, and so they ended up traveling together to take care of the family. Our thoughts with Abby and her family.
One out for Yonder Alonso. Reaching for it. Haven't seen a whole lot of curveballs tonight, have we, Mike?
No, he really hasn't had to use it, and typically you'll see it more to the left-handers. He's had an excellent changeup once again tonight, and we're starting to see more of that, but his fastball control has been pretty good. And as you mentioned at the start of the game, the thing with Mike, that his changeup has been so good that he will throw it to both left-handed and right-handers. You can certainly see it in throwing it to the right-handers, getting the ball moved down and away from them. But a lot of pitchers, left-handed pitchers, are really cautious about throwing the changeup to the left-handed hitters because they don't want it to drift down and in that loop zone for him. But Mike really throws his changeup with a lot of confidence. And this time, after some off-speed pitches, he just reaches back for a good fastball, and he's able to hang on to the foul tip. That's a good fastball. We'll take again a look at the changeup numbers for him. 105 pitches, 20 of them changeups. Only put it in play twice. They did not pick up a hit. He had 6 strikeouts on it, and that was through his complete game. So an effective pitch for him. And we showed the numbers on the batting average against him first time through the lineup. It was a little over 300. And he's better the second time through and just devastating the third time through. And I think it's because he starts to mix that pitch in more, his curveball more as the game moves on. First time through, you see a lot more fastball from him, which I think is a great plan. And it's worked for him, so why change it? And I'm sure that Rick Waits has told him that. So many times pitchers get worried about scouting reports and the other team expecting it. But until they start to hit you, don't change anything. And I think that Rick has been able to convey that to Mike, and it's worked out well for him.
Seager in a few strides across the grass, and a 1-2-3 inning by Mike Montgomery, who has faced the minimum now in 3 of the first 4 innings. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. By Money Tree, proud to make a donation to Mariners Care for every Mariners win. By Jack in the Box, taste the new black pepper cheeseburger today only at Jack in the Box. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. What a start it has been tonight for Mike Montgomery, 4 scoreless, and he leads off the 5th at the plate.
Why not get your first major league hit right here? Hit the ball pretty well his first time up, flew out to left field.
For Montgomery, this is his 2nd interleague start already this season, but he faced the Giants at home.
It looks to me as he probably played in the field a little bit when he was growing up. High school baseball. It's a pretty good swing.
Looking hitterish, Mike?
Yeah, not too bad. I don't know what he's going to do if he throws him a breaking ball, but on the fastball, it's not too bad.
He punches him out. Comes in with the curve. Borderline pitch there, as you saw. Montgomery caught looking. Well, hope you can stick around after the game for Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines. Felix is going to put somebody on the disabled list before long. We saw him with the chokehold last half inning, now going after Sucre.
Well, outside of the days that he is pitching, he has a good time in the dugout.
Fair to say. Nobody enjoys being on the bench more than Felix, as long as it's not on a day that he starts.
I would agree, and the thing about it that is really refreshing is a lot of pitchers that were in his caliber, I guess, they probably wouldn't spend as much time on the bench. They would be up in the clubhouse more, but he typically is right there.
1-1 to Lomo. Now it goes back to the words that every manager, coach, teammate, it seems like, Felix says, what a teammate he is.
Right.
He's the guy you want on the mound. He's the guy you want in the clubhouse. And the Padres very fortunate. They will not be seeing Felix. Taijuan Walker going tomorrow. That'll be a great pitching matchup. James Shields on the other end. Second time that pair has tangoed this year. Barmes, the range, and the squeeze. 2 outs.
The Padres happy not to see Felix, and I guarantee you they all looked to see what it was going to be, but no real bargain with Montgomery and now Taijuan going tomorrow with the way these two gentlemen have been pitching over the last month.
And Lloyd changed up his rotation a little bit, taking advantage of the off day, not wanting to go lefty-lefty with Montgomery and then Elias. So Elias and Taijuan Walker flip-flopping, so that's why Taijuan going tomorrow. But you're right, the pair of Montgomery and Taijuan Walker with Paxton and Iwakuma sidelined with injury on the disabled list. You can't ask for anything better from those two lately. Cano, a fly ball, medium depth. Melvin Upton is there for out number 3. The Mariners go down quietly in the 5th, a 1-2-3 inning by Ian Kennedy as we go to the last of the 5th. Mike Montgomery coming back out, 4-0 Mariners. All right, Jen, so thank you for that update. A blister for Iwakuma. That's happened before for Hisashi. And really for Iwakuma, Mike, with the splitter, it's learning to manage a blister and a callus, and there's a little bit of a fine science there for Iwakuma.
And he's had a finger issue outside of the blister too, so yeah, you're right. He's had to deal with a number of things.
4-pitch walk to begin the bottom of the 5th. Solarte sprints to first. Something he does whenever he gets a walk. Take a look at our Delta Airlines keep climbing standings. The Astros continuing to be at the top of the division. The Texas Rangers welcoming back Josh Hamilton to the lineup as their game has gone final in Baltimore from earlier today. Hamilton going 2 for 4 in his first time with the Rangers in about a month after going on the disabled list with a hamstring injury. Tough news tonight, by the way, for the Oakland A's. Sonny Gray was scheduled to start. He instead had to go to the hospital with some flu-like symptoms as the A's had to scramble and call somebody up from AAA. Take a look at the A's rotation with what we are supposed to see when we go to the Bay Area. Kazmir, Chavez, Graveman. They currently have TBA for the finale there on July 5th. Whoever it is will face Mike Montgomery.
Probably a pretty good chance now that it will be Gray.
Seems like it could be. Kazmir having another terrific year. Sub-3 ERA. Trade rumors surrounding Kazmir. Seager near the line. Long throw to second. Cano to first. Pick, scoop, and out. A long way around the horn, started by Kyle Seager. Second double play tonight behind Mike Montgomery, and that was a beauty.
And we'll take a look at it. Backhanded play for Kyle, and one of the things he does so well is get rid of the ball quickly. His throw is down a little bit of a bobble by Cano, and a good scoop by Morris, and he's done that all year over at first. We'll take another look at it. Murphy, the manager, outside the dugout. Close play. And they're going to look at it.
Now here come the headsets.
Might have beat that one out.
Right there, you can see the foot of Jerko.
And a look at our Alaska Supermo.
Yeah,
that's pretty clear.
To give you any idea how tough this job is, as he is safe, the Alaska Supermo, 360 frames per second. So not an easy job being a big league umpire. Jerko in there just in time. They get the lead runner. That's Solarte. He gets cut down 5-4 for round number 1. A fielder's choice, as it turns out, for Jerko. Well, 1 out, 1 on. Strike 1 to Upton. Craig Kimbrell is the closer now for the Padres, and the main reason why is because Melvin Upton was in the deal. To center field, Jackson ranging over, and he's able to make the shoestring catch.
Wow. I think the ball off the bat was knuckling out towards center field, and so Austin had to make an adjustment, and he catches this ball right off the top of his shoes. Excellent running catch.
You talk about rerouting.
And again, I think it was because it was knuckling out there and it died right at the last minute. He thought it was going to carry a little bit further.
Bounces away from Zunino. Hits him. Barmes at first base. So 2 on with 2 outs.
We're going to get a pinch hitter, it looks like.
Well, thanks to BECU on most Monday nights this season, families can purchase select view-level seats for one low price. You'll enjoy great savings when you join us for our next event this Monday, 7:10 against the Tigers. You can visit mariners.com/specials for more information. And here is Will Middlebrooks pinch hitting. We told you earlier that Middlebrooks a little dinged up after a leg injury, tripping on a bat in foul territory, chasing after a pop-up. But we were also told by Pat Murphy, the interim manager, that he would be available to pinch hit. And here you go.
And Rick Waite's going to make a trip out to the mound. Middlebrooks 0 for 6 in pinch hitting appearances this year. But Rick, I'm sure just going over the scouting report with Mike Montgomery, since Middlebrooks was not in the starting lineup.
John Kelly warming up in the bullpen for the Padres.
Middlebrooks has shown some pop. 9 home runs on the year.
Mike, this was a guy back in 2013 we thought would be, well, a perennial all-star, a gold glover for the Red Sox from years to come, and it just hasn't turned out.
No, it certainly looked as if he was going to be there for a decade, and really it hasn't worked out.
First year with San Diego. Of course, Pablo Sandoval made Middlebrooks expendable. Has really battled the disabled list after breaking out in his rookie year. That was back in 2012. 2 on, 2 outs. Middlebrooks to Seager. Down to Cano. And that'll do it for the Padres, as Mike Montgomery has been basically untouchable through the first 5 innings. And it involves Sandy Koufax, the first of 4 no-hitters. That was the expansion year for the New York Mets. 13 punch-outs, and, well, probably after the first inning they knew that things would not be going the Mets' ways. 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts. Mike Montgomery, you can see the line there. Things going awfully well for Montgomery so far through 5 innings. Meanwhile, his counterpart, Ian Kennedy, is out of the ballgame now through 5 innings. As we now see former Mariner Sean Kelly up on the mound. Kelly, 4 years with the Mariners.
0-2 record for him, a 4.38 ERA, 25 strikeouts and 24 2/3. Only sitting 271. He's given up 3 home runs this year.
Faces Seager right away to begin things at the top of the 6th. Into the shift to Jerko. Short toss, out number 1.
Take a look at the numbers for Kennedy. Mariners did a job on him at Safeco Field, and it happened again here. 5 innings, just 5 hits, but 4 runs, all of them earned. Walked the batter at 5 strikeouts through 70 pitches, 50 of those for strikes.
Now, we mentioned at the start of the game the recent success for Kennedy. He's been lights out so far this month. 1 earned run in each of his last 3 starts entering tonight, but the Mariners able to get to him like few teams have lately. Cruz drew a walk his last time up. That was in the 4th inning. Big swing to make it 1-2. Mariners and the Padres split the quick 2-game series back in May at Safeco Field, starting the first of 2 tonight.
Shot of Austin Jackson. He has a base hit and an RBI.
Now the Mariners 1 run in the 3rd. That was Zunino's home run, and then a 3-run 4th. Miller had a mammoth homer. Jackson the RBI single you were talking about. Then came home on Miller's home run. Count stays at 2-2. Now, as the first half comes to a close, you really couldn't be asking for much more from Nelson Cruz. 19 homers, 46 RBIs, hitting over 300. So far, so good, to say the least, for Nelson's Mariners career.
Just ask him to do it again in the second half. That's all.
Pops it up on the infield. Yonder Alonso giving way to Jerko. 2 outs. That brings in Seth Smith. Smith 0 for 2, a strikeout, a fly ball out to left. And Mike, as we look back on the line from Ian Kennedy tonight, the 4 runs, 5 innings, only 70 pitches, and 2 home runs. There was maybe some foreshadowing. You were talking about this at the time. All the fly ball outs we saw in the early innings, and a couple of them ended up finding the seats.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we saw from him when he pitched against the Mariners earlier, and to see the same type of thing early, even though they were out, they looked as if they were getting some pretty good swings on some elevated pitches in the zone, and that's exactly what happened on the Zunino home run. Brad hit a changeup that was in the middle of the plate, hit that out. So the one thing that you hope is that if that continues, you're able to take advantage of it, and the Mariners were able to do that.
And the way that Mike Montgomery has been pitching lately and pitching tonight, a 4-0 lead, feels like a double-digit lead almost. It's been all zeros for Montgomery so far.
Well, and one thing for him is, hopefully the Mariners can continue to add on to this lead, is just stay away from the walks. Don't help him out.
See the Bash brothers there. Neither were cheapies.
No. Not at all.
Tight to the line, a fair ball for Yonder Alonso, and the side retired in order by Sean Kelly, fresh out of the bullpen. Mike Montgomery getting ready to go. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Mariners have the lead. our Columbia Bank difference of the game, and tonight it has been Mike Montgomery.
And again, we're seeing the good changeup from him. Able to locate his fastball, a couple of good curveballs. Not many with his curveball. Mostly it's been a fastball changeup combination. He pitched well. And he has walked 3 batters and hit a batter, and that's something that he would really like to stay away from with the 4-0 lead right now.
Facing Kemp to start things off. And Mike, when you watch Mike Montgomery, and this is only his 6th start, so we really haven't seen him all that much. For just a casual viewer or fan of the game, there's nothing that Montgomery does, as Miller plays this routinely, that is particularly flashy. He doesn't have, at least from if you're up in the 2nd tier, he doesn't have this devastating changeup like Felix or a splitter. The radar gun doesn't line up when Montgomery pitches, but he's obviously very effective. You've talked about the mix of pitches, but is it that simple for Montgomery, the early success?
Well, I think, for one, with his velocity, I think that the more that he pitches, we're going to see his velocity get a little bit better for him. Not that it's bad now, it's fine. But I think the thing that he does so well with his fastball is he will pitch inside. And he can pitch inside for strikes, or he can pitch inside to move you around a little bit. And when he does that, he's able to come right back with his changeup. And the thing that's made his changeup so great is that when it comes out of his hand, and there's an exact 10-mile-an-hour difference, which is what you're looking for. But when it comes out of his hand, it looks like it's going to be the fastball right at the knees, and hitters just cannot pick it up. They go to attack it, and he ends up throwing it down out of the strike zone. And that's a difficult thing to lay off of that pitch. But he'll also use his cutter to the right-handers, and we mentioned it. He'll throw his changeup, which is unusual. He'll throw it to the left-handed hitters, and it causes problems for him. But again, his location of his changeup has been excellent.
Norris calls time.
And the biggest key is you have to pitch inside, try to speed the guys up a little bit, and then when it comes, the changeup comes out of his hand, it appears to be a fastball, and it looks as if it's going to be in the strike zone, and then the bottom falls out of it.
When it's too late and you've already started to swing.
Then it's too late. That was a pretty good curveball. We'll take a look at it. Pretty good curveball, 73 miles an hour.
Change up there, just gets a piece. You're right, Mike. Average fastball velocity for Montgomery, 91 miles an hour. Average changeup velocity for Montgomery, 81 miles an hour. That's about as textbook as it comes.
It really is, and that's what they try to teach you, that the separation. Felix is a whole different story and, and something to talk about. Felix changeup only 3 miles an hour off his fastball, but most pitchers try to get that 8 to 10 mile an hour separation.
And the changeup, it seems like any pitcher who wants to improve upon something, or almost every pitcher, it's always the changeup. It's such a field pitch. It's such a difficult pitch to master, and those who can do it have great success at this level. Cutting right through it. 2 outs.
I think the thing with it is, and this is going to be a fastball again after all the off-speed pitches, it's fastball at 89 miles an hour, and you can see how late the swing is, and Derek Norris does a good job hitting left-handers, but clearly late on that fastball up out of the strike zone. But there's so many different ways to throw the changeup, Aaron, and you'll see guys, well, we're going to see Taijuan Walker, he calls it a split change that he's going to throw. Mike Montgomery, more of a circle change.
Talking about Felix, Rick Waits has said that Felix is the best he has ever seen at disguising his changeup with the arm speed. That's the best changeup in the game. We'll see James Shields tomorrow. He has a fine changeup as well.
I think one of the biggest keys for Felix is he's able to throw all 4 of his pitches out of basically the same arm slot, so it's difficult for the hitters to try to pick it up.
Close call.
I think Kyle thought it was going to miss the rail and go more towards the steps. He ended up getting his glove hung up on the railing a little bit. But I think that's the biggest key, and that's one of the big strengths for Felix as we take another look at Kyle as he heads over to the dugout. He knows where the steps are at and just didn't get his glove up over the railing.
2 outs, nobody on.
And I think one of the things that I've heard with Felix in talking about Rick Waits and other people from across the other side is that he throws all of his pitches, including his changeup, with such conviction. Every one of them. Keeping the arm speed up. He rarely sells it. And he's consistently done that. It's hard to do.
Interesting you bring up that word conviction. That's something that a lot of pitchers talk about. Taijuan Walker saying today that when he asks Mariners hitters about the toughest pitchers to face, that's the word that they throw out there a lot. Of course, you can talk about certain pitchers, Archer, the slider, whatever it might be. But the bottom line is, how much are you putting behind each pitch, and it isn't necessarily the velocity. Full count now to Alonso, 2 outs, bases empty. Upton would be next. We've seen 3 walks and a hit batter for Montgomery. The 3-2. Up the middle. Here comes Miller. And this has been an awfully good night so far for Mike Montgomery. Scoreless through 6, and that's not all. Tonight 4-0. Mike Montgomery has been off the charts good, and we bring in Jason Bay. And Jason, what have you seen tonight for Mike Montgomery that's made him so tough to square up?
Jason, how much of an advantage is it to Mike, the fact that the Padres haven't seen him and maybe some of the discussions they're having in their dugout trying to figure him out?
Well, Jay Bay, thank you so much. That's good perspective. Good hitter's perspective there from Jason Bay. And the Padres have had a rough go of things so far tonight against Mike Montgomery. They can dial up the helpline, and on the other end, you'll find the Royals calling the same number. Ball and 2 strikes to Jackson, leading off the top of the 7th. Ian Kennedy knocked out of the game after 5 innings, 70 pitches. Mariners tagged him for 4 runs. Strike 3 called inside corner, and really inside. Out number 1. Well, time for our Seattle City Light power play, and Brad Miller was not cheated on this swing. A mammoth home run in the 4th inning, his 6th, making it 7th of the season.
406 feet away on a changeup in the middle of the plate. Pretty good swing.
So Miller, 7 home runs, 22 RBIs now on the season. Jumps on this pitch, but a foul ball. Miller now with 7 home runs. That's the most by any American League shortstop so far this year. Marcus Semien had been tied with Miller when they were both at 6 homers. Semien in his first season as the A's shortstop. Seems like more times than not when Miller goes deep, he goes deep in bunches.
Pretty good slider from Kelly. Things really have not changed for him since he was with Seattle. His fastball is going to be in the low 90s, and he will mix in the slider.
Miller up the middle, and it drops in for a base hit. Miller 2 for 3. Well, keep your eye on the bus. Follow us from a safe distance on Twitter at Sound Transit. Happy to have you with us. A beautiful night, no surprise, here from Petco Park in San Diego. Aaron Goldsmith, Mike Flowers, our entire Root Sports crew. Happy to have you for Game 1 of this quick 2-game interleague series against the Padres. Miller at first after the single, 1 out. It brings in Mike Zunino, a home run earlier. This Padres bullpen last year in terms of earned run average was the best in baseball, but this year an ERA pushing 4, near the bottom of the National League. Frank Garcia's warming up in the pen. Seems like maybe more than any other aspect of a way a big league team is constructed, year in and year out, a bullpen can change more frequently than anything else.
And it's so important to your club. We talked about it even with the Mariners and how good their bullpen, solid their bullpen was last year. Just count on them day in and day out. And struggled a little bit in the month of April. And they had to make some adjustments out there. They've had things turned around. They've been much, much better, but it's critical.
You can see where they stack in amongst the poorest pins in the National League. Colorado has struggled with pitching for years at this point. Padres getting the Braves closer in Craig Kimbrell. Zunino down on strikes. 2 outs. That should be a fun one tomorrow. We take a look at the starters for the series finale. We'll hit the airwaves at noon. First pitch at 12:45. Taijuan Walker against James Shields. The Mariners saw Shields earlier in the year, had a tough go, as a lot of teams do at times. But Taijuan Walker looking to keep it going. And maybe at some point, Mike, Taijuan's earned run average will reflect the way that he's actually pitching. We saw it there north of 4.5, but he continues just to chip away at that.
It's one of those things, Aaron, and I talk about it all the time with the hitters when they get off to slow starts, and sometimes you get upwards of 100 at bats, and all of a sudden you get hot, and it takes time to get that average back to where it's manageable. And it's the same thing with a pitcher. For Taijuan, though, he's certainly heading in the right direction. Things look much better even at a 4.64 where he's at now. I mean, if you think about it, it was just 6 weeks ago he was north of 10. So he's had to do a lot of things right.
Now he is learning and maturing on the job, which is not easy at this level. Only 22. Montgomery, 3 pitches, he strikes out. Miller stranded at first base. It's time to stretch. We go to the bottom of the 7th. Mariners leading 4-0. Stretching your body. How about stretching your mind as you consider how a Washington's lottery win would change your bucket list? Play today. Now they always eat clean here in San Diego. As we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, Mike Montgomery, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, a hit batter. Pitch count in pretty decent shape right now. They'll face the middle 3rd of the order. You talk about building on your previous start, Mike. A complete game shutout against the Royals, and you can see his very impressive line so far.
Well, he's certainly doing it. You can see 77 pitches again in his last outing. He threw 105 pitches, and this is what you like to see. 10 ground ball outs, the 5 strikeouts, only the 3 flyouts for him. And you can see how efficient he has been with his pitch count inning by inning.
He's in good shape, facing Upton now. Look at the balance there, Mike.
Yeah, it's not the 2-to-1 ratio you would like to see, but he's made it work, and it's also the reason why he's walked 3 batters and hit a batter.
Upton is the scariest bat in the lineup right now for the Padres, and he's ahead 3-0. Solarte on deck. Strike on the outside portion. Club to left field. And Smith is able to leave his feet just enough and make the catch. And we're still going here in the bottom of the 7th.
One of the few times tonight that a Padres hitter has been able to square the ball up. This is hit on the button. A good read by Seth, able to get back just in time.
First pitch to Solarte. He clubs this down the left field line. Smith can't get to this one, and it's over the short wall for a ground rule double. And Mike, it'll have to wait for another time.
Well, again, we've talked about the poise of Montgomery, and I will guarantee you he was thinking about it, Aaron. The fact that he had not given up a hit, and this is one of the few mistakes he made. Off-speed pitch, looked like his changeup, and he left it up in the middle of the plate. We've talked about it all night, how he's done an excellent job of keeping that pitch down, and that one above the belt. One
out and one on, and this is hit well to center field. Jackson able to get there in time. Jackson has shown a lot of range tonight, and goodness knows in this ballpark there is plenty of blades of grass to cover. Jerko out to center. Mark your calendars for Saturday, July 11th for Nelson Cruz bobblehead night when the home run hitter makes his Mariners bobblehead debut. Thanks to Root Sports. This collectible of the boomstick himself is free to the first 20,000 fans. For tickets, just visit Mariners.com. 2 outs, Solarte at second base with the only hit tonight given up by Mike Montgomery, now facing Melvin Upton Jr. Right there to Brad Miller. Room service hop and a strong throw to first base. And well, the no-hitter might be gone for Mike Montgomery. But nevertheless, 7 scoreless innings against the Padres. See some disappointment on the face from Mike Montgomery. 6 1/3 no-hit innings before Solarte punches a double to left field. And you can understand why the disappointment is there for Montgomery, Mike, but things have been going very well for Montgomery since coming to the Mariners, but especially his last 2 starts.
No, he's really pitched well, and again, you see different things out of him, and I'm sure that he was aware of the fact where he was at in this game and the fact that he had the no-hitter, and you know, he was that close, 8 outs away. So, but you know what I like is the fact that he gave up the double and came right back and got the next couple of outs, get out of the inning.
Right. Frank Garces, the new pitcher, up on the mound, the lefty for the Padres. Top 3 due up. It starts with Logan Morrison. It's funny to think that the Mariners were Erasmo Ramirez without an option, shy of not getting Mike Montgomery. That's what it comes down
no,
to.
You're right.
It comes down to Erasmo not having an option, not wanting to put Ramirez on waivers. He would not have made the big league club out of spring training. And it was a 1-for-1 swap. We'll give you Erasmo, you give us Montgomery. The deal done with the Tampa Bay Rays. And it's pretty surprising, really, when you consider the Rays' knack for developing pitchers. Lomo out to left field. And not that, really, to say that they developed Montgomery isn't necessarily a fair statement. Drafted, primarily developed by Kansas City. But the Rays are an organization that, if they want a guy, it seems like you would be wise to say, maybe we want him too, especially when it comes to pitching. But for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, for Mike, he was a high draft choice.
Sure.
Was fast tracking to be in the Kansas City rotation. This is a guy that they thought would be right there.
Absolutely.
And then he had some issues and ended up in Tampa. So
the Rays are right. I think the bottom line is about so
right.
many pitchers, especially pitchers. Ramirez has pitched well for Tampa Bay in the first half, but the Mariners might really have something in Mike Montgomery. As Canoa's in with 1 out. And 6 starts does not a career make.
No.
But.
And I said it earlier, and Jason, he agreed that as his first time through and teams seeing him for the first time, he has an advantage. There's no question. He still has to go out and compete and make his pitches, but we'll have to give it some time to see. But look, you still have to go out there.
Right.
And this club needed somebody to start desperately with Paxton and Iwakuma going on there, and he's been outstanding, just outstanding.
More than you could have hoped for. Cano on the ground to Jerko, his counterpart at second base. 2 outs. Well, Safeco Field will be rocking on Friday, July 24th. That's because it is fireworks night, featuring a post-game sing-along show set to some of the best rock and roll songs. So hope you can make plans to join us for Mariners Fireworks Night, presented by Seattle City Light, when you get tickets at mariners.com. Once again, July 24th, Blue Jays will be in town.
One of the things that it has done, giving up the base hit, though, is after throwing 105 pitches in his last outing, and if his pitch count had jumped up on him here in the bottom of the 8th inning, he was still there, Lloyd would have to make a decision. My guess would be he would leave the young man out there, but it would have been interesting to watch to see how far he would let him go.
That's a good point.
Because I thought he was pushing the limits in his last outing when he had the complete game at 105.
And it brings up a point that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. The American League has not had a no-hitter since Felix Hernandez in the perfect game in 2012 against Tampa Bay. It's right in the neighborhood of 13 no-hitters thrown by National League pitchers since. Seager, a shallow fly ball, right field. A lot of range from Jerko, but it's Kemp's ball, and he makes the catch. Mariners sat down in order as we are off to the bottom of the 8th inning. Mike Montgomery suiting up. He's coming back out. 4-0 Mariners. This one only 1 hit for the Padres. Tomorrow, day baseball. Our coverage begins at noon. First pitch at 12:45. We take a look at our CenturyLink What's Next. Taijuan Walker versus big game James Shields. You can see the ERA for Shields up there. A lot of strikeouts for James Shields. He's been right near the top in strikeout category for not the big leagues, but especially for the National League. Kershaw leading baseball with 140 punch-outs so far this year. Ball one to Barmes. Shallow pop up. Cano drifting over for out number 1. Still have a pinch hitter. Brent Wallace. We last saw Wallace a number of years ago with the Astros. Former big time prospect. Top draft pick or near the top for the St. Louis Cardinals. Wallace now with San Diego. Former first rounder out of Arizona State, where Pat Murphy, his manager, hails from. Murphy really became a coaching legend at Tempe.
Marcus Mateo getting loose for the Padres.
Looks like we'll see him in the ninth. Curveball missing. 1-1 to Wallace. Coming up on 90 pitches for Montgomery. Wallace a big swing and a miss.
Mark Lowe, hard throwing right-hander for the Mariners, has really pitched well.
Well, that didn't look like it missed by a whole lot. 2-2.
Oh, really good changeup right at the bottom of the strike zone. He didn't get the call.
Goes full. 3 walks so far today for Montgomery. Kemp on deck. Here comes a 3-2. Wallace down on strikes. Gets him with the curveball. Montgomery, strikeout number 6.
We talked about it with Mike Montgomery. A lot of fastballs first time through. He'll start to mix in his changeup a little bit more, and then you'll see his breaking ball. And right there, be able to throw his breaking ball for a strike at this point in the game. 93 pitches. Pretty good stuff.
And this is something you've talked about, Mike, and it's incredible the numbers that Montgomery has been able to put up the second and third time through. And you would think the more times you would see Montgomery, the better chance you would have to square up a pitch, but that just has not been the case.
It hasn't been the case. Maybe it's changing a little bit tonight because they did get their hit in the 7th.
That's
inning.
okay. That's a fair point. Reversing the trend tonight.
We'll take a look at what he's done this year and in his last outing. First time through the lineup on the season, 317. His last outing, 375 and 3 for 8. And then you can see that was it in his last outing. But on the year, second time through, 167. Then even better the third time through. So a young pitcher, that's really doing an excellent job.
A little rainbow, right center field. Jackson is able to snare it right near the knees. And a little more carry than it looked like it might have off the bat. Jackson's been busy at times. 8 scoreless, only 1 hit for Mike Montgomery. inside Petco Park. And the new video board here at Petco, one of the largest in baseball. Of course, the Mariners have the biggest video board in the game back at Safeco Field, but this is a beauty as well here in San Diego, as we have found the 9th inning. And Mike Montgomery, 8 innings scoreless. Mike, only 1 hit to double to break up the no-no in the 7th. A stellar start once again by Montgomery.
No, it's been really good. You can see the 96 pitches, so hopefully he'll have an opportunity to finish this one. I think that he will. Just the 1 hit. I was asked in between innings, is this a situation where Montgomery's been that good, as you take a look at the numbers for Mateo, or have the Padres struggled? And I said, if you really think about it, he did almost the exact same thing against the Kansas City Royals, one of the better hitting teams in the American League. So I think you have to give Montgomery a lot of credit for this one tonight.
Yeah, it's a fair question given the problems at times for the Padres, but that's a great point you bring up.
Well, and then the fact that Mike is so young and new to everybody, they're not sure what to think of him at this point. But that's back-to-back outings now. I think you have to give the man credit.
Cruz leading off the Mariners 9th. Now, no team in baseball this year has been shut out more than these Padres. 11 times so far this year. The Brewers behind them, 9 shutout losses. So this has happened, but to happen facing 1 pitcher for 9 innings is a different story. Impressive work by Montgomery. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Cruz, looking for his first hit. Looking for home run number 20 on the year. Shatters the bat. Karam off the mound. Tough play from Barmes, and Cruz able to leg it out. And not the way that Nelson maybe drew it up. A broken bat and a bounce off the hill, but he's at first base.
Oh, 1 for 3 night for Nelson so far. Take a look at this last pitch, well off the plate away, and he reaches out for it, hits it off the end of the bat and snaps his bat. Good play by Barmes, the shortstop. Get rid of it quickly. But Nelson, we've talked about it. For a big man, he gets down the line in good shape, and that'll be an infield hit.
Leadoff man reaches for Seth Smith. 1 run in the 3rd tonight for the Mariners. That was Zunino's blast. A 3 spot in the 4th, highlighted by Brad Miller's 2-run homer. That was walloped out to right field. Mateo, now 31 years old. He hails from the Dominican Republic. A couple of years in the majors in 2010, 2011 with the Cubs, and then was out of the big leagues for a long while until this season. This is only his 4th appearance out of the Padres bullpen. One on 2 on Smith. Montgomery, 96 pitches, 52 strikes, 8 scoreless.
I think Lloyd will give him a chance to have a quick inning if he can.
Well, you mentioned the numbers earlier, 105 pitches in his last start, so he's within range of that at 96 right now.
105 was his season high. He hadn't reached 100 in his previous 4 starts.
Max Scherzer has tossed back-to-back complete game shutouts this year. Was an elbow away from a perfect game, the infamous Tabata elbow. But you don't see many pitchers be able to do what Montgomery is in range of doing tonight.
Max Scherzer, the probable starter in the National League for the National League club in the All-Star game.
You know, the way you look at it, he's made the most headlines, but Zach Greinke right now has a fairly quiet 1.58 earned run average for the Dodgers, but Scherzer has been just electric, and it seems like every time he takes the mound, you get an alert on your phone saying Max Scherzer is no-hitting somebody through 5 innings or 6 innings or whatever it might be. Straightaway center field, well in range of Melvin Upton Jr. 1 out. Cruz back to first base, brings in Austin Jackson. But the pitching numbers this year, it's an interesting point you bring up, Mike. We are almost to the All-Star break, and just take Greinke for example. Yes, it's in the National League. Yes, there's no DH, but there are still really good hitters having phenomenal first halves. Nolan Arenado nearly 70 RBIs. Stanton, of course, banged up now, but look at D. Gordon leading baseball. I mean, all the guys in average, that is, hitting nearly 360. A lot of the big-time hitters this year are in the National League. Todd Frazier of the Reds. And we have a pitcher with an ERA that's essentially pocket change.
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable. I don't care that it is the National League. That is getting it done.
You can't forget about Paul Goldschmidt. We'll see Goldschmidt coming up. Have the Diamondbacks in interleague. Second half of the year. Bottom line, this is not the day and age to be a hitter. I mean, it's not easy. Two balls and 2 strikes to Jackson. Now Felix, another reason why. Felix started the All-Star game last year. That was a beautiful target field in Minneapolis. Chopper right side. Sliding stop by Jerko, but can't hold on.
A couple of infield hits for the Mariners here in the ninth.
Well, Jerko really had a long way to go for it.
He was playing up the middle, and see, he tried to go into that slide so he could pop up quickly for the throw, but wasn't able to get back up. Again, the grass probably a little damp right now. Slid a little further than he thought he was going to. Brad Miller having a good night. Brad 2 for 3 with a home run, driven in a couple of runs, a 2-run homer. Solid line drive base hit back up the middle his last time up.
The 1-0 drops in a little bit low, 2-0 to Miller. Well, 5 times in Miller's career already has he homered twice in a game.
Well, the Mariners haven't had a lot of opportunities with runners in scoring position tonight, but they are 2 for 4.
Right on the inside, 2-1. In fact, Miller has done that this year already once. He did it in mid-May at home against the Red Sox. And he's handed the count 3-1. Zunino has homered already. He's on deck. Two on, 1 out. Miller, a hard ground ball. Alonso. And wide throw by Barnes. Race it around. Here comes Cruz. Throw home. Cruz is safe. And the Mariners tack on a run. Errant throw by Barmes. And Murphy not pleased. 5-0 Mariners.
Take a look at Barmes, the shortstop. Poor throw. Nothing that Mateo can do about that. Would have been better off to not make the throw. Brad gets down the line in pretty good shape, but the Mariners will take the run.
No RBI in that play. Fielder's choice, error on Barmes. A run in, though. That's when it pays off to run hard around the bases for Cruz.
We've seen that from him all year.
A ball and a strike to Zunino. Well, there's your answer. Montgomery, as we mentioned earlier, only at 96 pitches. Threw 105 in his last start.
There's nobody throwing in the pen. We saw Mark Lowe up last inning, but he sat back down. And the fact that Montgomery's out on the on-deck circle, looks like Lowe's going to give him a chance. One of the things he didn't want to see is this type of inning. He'll take the run, but Mateo's had to throw a lot of pitches. It's been a longer inning than he would have liked to have seen.
Now, the 5 runs tonight for the Mariners, the most since the last time Mike Montgomery was up on the mound. 7-0 win over Jeremy Guthrie and the Royals. Two balls, 2 strikes to Zunino. He's got Miller at first base. Routine fly ball to Upton in center field. And that'll send us to the bottom of the 9th inning. Mike Montgomery setting his sights on his second consecutive complete game shutout. Stay with us. Could have driven in a run or something. This
Just get his first major league hit. Right?
He's done his job, though, and he looks to finish things off as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. 5-0 Mariners here in game 1 of 2. And we've got some changes defensively for the Mariners. 3 outs to go for Montgomery. And a long left arm. New left fielder Dustin Ackley taking care of Seth Smith, done for the night. Nelson Cruz out from right field. Gutierrez in right. Eric Norris leading things off. Bottom of the 9th inning. Norris, Alonso, Upton, 2, 3, and 4. Not easy.
Nobody throwing in the bullpen right now for the Mariners. And Mike is at 97 pitches. Had a season high 105 in his last outing.
We all know when the last Mariners no-hitter was. That was the perfect game for Felix in 2012. But the last time a Mariners pitcher threw a complete game one-hitter, you have to go back to Jared Washburn. That was in 2009 at Safeco Field. That was against Baltimore. And the Mariners' starting third baseman that day was Chris Woodward. Now first base coach, infield coach for the Mariners. Time called. Griffey was in that game. Ronnie Cedeno was at shortstop for the Mariners. The 1-2. Went with the curve, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
We've seen him throw his curveball a little bit more. Just starting in the 7th inning, he started to use his curveball more. It's been an effective pitch for him tonight.
Now at 100 pitches. Three walks tonight for Montgomery, a hit batter as well. Line drive, chest tie to Cano, 1 out. Two outs to go for Mike Montgomery. A complete game shutout with 1 hit. Last time it happened in Mariners history, Freddie Garcia, 2001. No surprise, Randy Johnson a number of times. Also Mark Langston. We just saw Mark in Anaheim. Now on a radio for the Angels.
I think we saw that line drive right to Cano. And from what I could see in this ball game, only 3 times they've hit the ball hard. That was one of them. The other one was a line drive that Seth Smith was able to run down in left field, and of course the double down into the corner. That's been it. Quickly ahead of Alonso.
Down on strikes. Oh, I pulled the string. Mike Montgomery, strikeout number 7.
And we talked about this a lot at the start of the game. He will throw his changeup to the left-handers, and that's a dandy right at the bottom of the strike zone. And you can see 11 ground ball outs for him.
1 out away. And of course, it's the hottest hitter for the Padres, Justin Upton.
Upton was the one that hit the ball hard into left field that Seth Smith was able to make a running catch on.
Fastball, 1-1. In an era of velocity, we have seen Montgomery hit 91, maybe 92 tonight.
In the last couple of innings, his fastball has been down to 89 now. Another good changeup.
Now 1 strike away. He's got a fan of the bullpen, Mark Lowe, just in case.
Yeah, can see Mark clapping, wants him to finish it.
The 1-2 evens things up.
I think he just wanted to show him the fastball right there. Wouldn't be surprised if he comes back with the changeup now.
Second full count of this inning. Ran the count full to Norris before he lined out to Cano.
Solarte on deck. He has the one hit.
The 3-2 just gets a piece.
Another good changeup. Well located just out of the strike zone. And not been able to just cue it off the end of the bat. As you take a look at Solarte, it's his double, the one hit.
Montgomery's 3-2 just loses him.
That is a good pitch. Rick waits. I think at this point, 112 pitches, and Lloyd wanted him to finish it right there. You can see him. He's stressing over the pitch count. This will be his last hitter right here.
Has to be.
It's a shame that he didn't get the call on that last fastball. It was right on the corner.
Well, he only needs one more pitch out to right field. Gutierrez right there. And that'll be all she wrote for the Padres tonight. Mike Montgomery, one hit away from the history books. Back-to-back complete game shutouts. And he does it once again in convincing fashion. What a gem spun by Mike Montgomery.
And he's been fun to watch. And again, his command today, I thought his fastball was good. He pitches inside. It's so important, especially if your changeup is your best secondary pitch, and it is for Mike. He was able to mix in his curveball, but